Good evening, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to a video today. We'll talk a little bit about some of the news that's come out, as well as some of the, as well as redistricting for North Carolina. And I think the GOP is going to try to district North Carolina pretty hard. Now, North Carolina does have to have a few VRA districts. Most of them, as a matter of fact, I think they have to have one in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, as well as in this area. And actually, I think where I've got the 14th also has to be one. Just generally a certain number of them, and because the current North Carolina maps are court drawn, North Carolina almost has kind of a blank check to redraw where their districts are. So they're going to try to put the incumbent Republican representatives in a safe district for them. So these may not be the final borders, but this is kind of vaguely going to be where people are, where this is kind of going to vaguely give an idea of how the districts are going to fall out. I think that the Republicans can pretty safely draw a 10-4 map in North Carolina, because unlike some other states, the Democrats have horrible geography here. So yeah. But, and I mean, there's, dang it. Seriously? I missed, okay, whatever. I'm just gonna deal with it and, whatever, we're just going to deal with it. And yeah, so before we get too far into it, likes, comments, subscriptions, they always do help the channel, and I greatly appreciate them. I'd love to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We'll see if that happens. And I'm going to try to record on days that I have off from work, just because it's going to wind up being a little bit better that way. But that's a thing. Anyway, so yeah, North Carolina, like I said, has pretty good geography for the GOP, terrible geography for the Democrats, and yeah. But we also have some news to talk about. Governor Eat My Sausage has resigned effective a few weeks from 1 or 2 weeks from now. He should have resigned effective immediately, but well, that would make too much sense for Governor Smell My Finger. So, yeah. The California recall is, interestingly enough, looking much more likely to happen than when I first took a look at that race. So, I'm probably going to do a video about that in the coming week, Thursday, Friday time frame. And, yeah, who would have thought that was a possibility? In all seriousness, not me. And I'll be 100% honest that I didn't see it coming, and that maybe I should have. So, we'll see whether or not it happens, whether or not Gavin Newsom is going to get recalled. I'm still leaning towards I don't think it'll happen, but oh, that would be awesome to see. Cuba is actually adding some market reforms because it turns out that their system of government has been horrible and led to people protesting it in the streets. Gee, never would have seen that one coming. And, well, we all know about the COOF, the Rona, whatever you want to call it, and news about it. You know, I've been struggling trying to figure out how to talk about what I think about, you know, vaccine mandates, mask mandates, all of that sort of thing. And hilariously, I think I wound up getting the proper phrasing about it from the front man, the lead singer of Iron Maiden. Who would have thought? Anyway, my opinion is that we shouldn't be requiring all of this stuff. We shouldn't require you to wear a mask. We shouldn't require vaccinations to participate in anything from a business or a governmental level. That being said, it's important for you to speak with your doctor, you know, your primary care physician, the person who is responsible, you know, for discussing your health options, and make an informed and educated decision regarding the betterment of your own personal health. The way I understand it is if you are vaccinated, you are protected. And that's good enough. Because guess what? If you're vaccinated, you really shouldn't care about the vaccination status of anyone else if the vaccination is effective. Because sure, they can give you a case, but it won't be nearly as bad as it could otherwise be. And guess what? You can still catch it even if you're fully vaccinated, and chances are that'll be the same even if you have a booster, as is being discussed. And because you can catch it, that means you can still transmit it. Just because you're vaccinated doesn't mean you're protecting anyone. You're not. Fun fact. And that is a fact. That's the disclaimer of all the vaccinations, be it Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, any other company's vaccine. They are all in their disclaimer saying this does not prevent you from catching it, nor does it prevent you from being a carrier, meaning you can transmit it. So just be aware of that. Understand that it's a personal choice. I am not anti-vaccination by any stretch of the imagination. If you think it's the best choice for you, well, make sure you consult with your doctor and take your doctor's advice, because they're going to know more about your health than a politician in Washington or I will. Okay? Only you can make that choice, and it's your choice. Just make it responsibly. Okay? And if I get hate in the comments for it, well, making my opinion on it public was just part of the territory, and I understand that. Anyway, let's talk about this map. Like I said, it's a rough idea of how North Carolina can be, gerrymandered. There are ways to get a more favorable map for the Republicans, but vaguely I wanted to both kind of future-proof this, and I wanted to kind of showcase that the GOP really does have very good geography in North Carolina. So it's a 10-4 map, and there's only one data set, and this is using all of the latest information. So, Attorney General, it's a little bit less red. In Lieutenant Governor, we're a little bit more red. Governor, we're a lot less red, actually, surprisingly. And only the 11th flips, though, but 8, 10, 13, all could have been competitive. And that would have absolutely flipped. That would have been, instead of 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. It still would have been, no, that would have flipped Democratic if these other 3 districts flipped, but they didn't. And if we look at senator, it gets a little bit more red. And same thing if we flip over to president. This one's slightly less red than the Senate map, but it kind of just goes to show that North Carolina has really good geography for the Republicans. And we can continue to see this, right? And then these are 2016 data sets, which are more red than the current ones. But I definitely think the composite is pretty good for North Carolina. If we take off the partisan lean for all that, we can kind of see what's going on, right? So Charlotte is pretty much contained within its own district, and the suburbs are split between districts. Winston-Salem is actually lumped in with a bunch of Republican areas, and that leads to that district being red. However, Greensboro, I moved it over through the Burlington and Chapel Hill area to make a Democratic district there, which I kind of expected. And then I combined Raleigh and Durham, and some of the suburbs are lopped off in order to make some districts. Though this area is pretty heavily African American, so that winds up actually being a blue district because that's just the nature of how it works. I actually cracked Asheville in order to make both of these districts much safer. And if we move over, the 8th is centered on these rural areas, but kind of splits up Fayetteville, or Fayette-Nom as it's sometimes called, and even goes into some of these less blue suburbs of Charlotte. Also, the 4th is kind of a no man's land district, but that's what happens, right? The 10th skirts around and goes up towards the Raleigh area. The 11th goes into the Raleigh burbs and down to the coast and takes Wilmington, which is a pretty swingy area, actually. Then you've got the very southern part of the Outer Banks that goes into the Raleigh area. Again, some salience. Probably this exact type of map would get thrown out even by the state Supreme Court, even though it is controlled by the Democrats. Interesting that Ocracoke Island is Democratic, but maybe that makes sense. But you've got the Outer Banks, which are in another district that kind of skirts around. And actually, I've been through this area. Like, the Outer Banks are pretty cool, so. Definitely recommend you go to a lot of different places in North Carolina. The mountains out here are beautiful. And yeah. So that's kind of the lay of the land in North Carolina. And I'll be 100% honest with you. North Carolina is going to be changing over time, and and the Republicans may be better off actually surrendering a 5th district to the Democrats. But, like I said, a 10-4 is absolutely realistic. But to 100% future-proof it at least till 2030, they may need to make it a 9-5 map. But if they really wanted to push their immediate advantage, they could try, reasonably so, for a 11-3 map. I think it's perfectly possible. It's just going to be very difficult to make that last and hold. So, that's kind of the whole thing, and me catching up with some of the things I missed over the week while I was working. Anyway, take it easy, everyone. Have a very lovely evening, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.